Hi, and thank you for joining me for another video. And friends, this week's Parsha is Parashat Pinchas. And friends, the theme and one of the main principles of this Parsha seems to originate directly from last week's Parsha, Parashat Balak. Because we spoke on how last week's Parsha was mainly about the person of Bilam and his wasted potential. On how there are so many individuals in our everyday lives who could not only be an asset to the Jewish people, but could also help increase the goodness in the world we live in. And friends, I think that this week's Parsha, Parashat Pinchas, starts out by illustrating what could happen if non-Jews choose not to go above and beyond the bare minimum they're expected to keep. In other words, what are the consequences? Because it states later in the Sefer that it was Bilam who sent the women to seduce the Israelites, teaching us that, friends, we're forced to share this planet, our countries, our cities with others, like it or not. And the attitude that you go your way and I'll go mine will not suffice in the world we live in today. That, friends, that as a world, we're either growing in holiness or we're dying for lack of it. The principle that amorality leads to immorality, to the point that I've even heard many Jews say that non-Jewish women are allowed to dress scantily. Why? Because they're not Jewish, or that even according to the laws of Noah, lesbianism is permitted. Are you hearing me today, friends? These people who say such things in the name of Judaism, are people who don't even think twice about what they're offering the rest of the world. They're people who just assume that as long as they don't kill us, we're happy. Well, friends, these people are not living in reality, which is why I believe that the Torah is telling us here in the beginning of this Parsha that the sexual immorality that's being depicted was actually the cause of a Ben Noach, teaching us that if we don't influence the world, my friends, the world will influence us. To the point that we even see Israel not only falling into sexual immorality, but even worshiping a pagan god and ultimately paying for it with their own lives, which actually throws a whole wrench in the whole jargon spoken by Jews today. The notion that Gentiles should just remain Gentiles and Jews should just remain Jews. Because honestly, prior to Bilam encouraging these women to seduce the Israelites, what law of Noah did he break? And how can we assure that if we remain with the same amoral message to the non-Jewish world, that their amorality will not turn into immorality towards us? And the answer is that we can't be sure, especially when common sense alone cries out for another approach. What approach? My friends, the Torah's approach of influencing everything around us with the instructions of the Almighty. Like it states in Pirkei Avos, to be like the sons of Aaron, to bring the world to Torah. Or like it states in Vayikra Rabbah, that if we don't preach HaKodesh Baruch Hu as God among the nations, that we will have to bear the brunt for it. And